What visual comes to your mind when you think about going for a hike? For me, it's a dirt path through a forest. After visiting more than half of the US national parks, I wanted to create this list of 5 unique hikes that aren't your standard dirt path hike through a forest. Hey guys, it's Stoof from Travel SzN. Welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more fun travel and nature related content. Alright, so what makes a hike so unique? What makes a hike stand out from all the others? I was considering the geology, the geography, the variety of the views and vistas that you would see while on your hike, and I took into consideration the method one would go about completing the hiking route. Are you hiking on foot? Are you using your upper body strength more? Is there a bit of a scramble in this hike? Those are all the things I was thinking about when putting together this list. Have you ever hiked up volcanic rock and ash to get to the top of a cinder cone? If you haven't, there is a place where you can do so, and that is the Cinder Cone Trail at Lassen Volcanic National Park, the first unique hike on my list. The Cinder Cone Trail is a 4.7 mile loop type of trail with over 1,000 feet elevation gain. It's rated as moderately strenuous, however I found it to be a little bit more strenuous as I'm not used to hiking up the side of a cinder cone. The trail starts out with beautiful views of Butte Lake. You then continue on an ashy path through a conifer forest with dispersed geological features indicating past volcanic activity. You then come onto your first view of the massive cinder cone, and you can see the trail going up the side. You can see tiny little dots on that trail, which are people, which puts that cinder cone size into perspective for the first time. Once you approach the cinder cone, it is quite a steep trail going up the side of that thing. The rocks are very loose, so I recommend wearing sturdy footwear. Once you get to the top of the cinder cone, there are beautiful views looking all around the northwest section of Lassen Volcanic National Park. Inside the cinder cone, there is a dip down in elevation. If you want to hike to the very center of it, you can do so. Once you get to the other side of the rim, you then hike back down on a different path and make your way back to the trailhead. Number 2 on my list is the Burro Wash Trail in Capitol Reef National Park, Utah. This trail is not for the claustrophobic, as it is a slot canyon trail. If you've never done a slot canyon hike before, this one is a lot of fun. It starts out in a sandy, brush-like desert environment in the BLM land just outside of Capitol Reef National Park. You hike through this desert along a wash basin, following the path until you reach a gate to enter the national park boundary. Once you get into that national park land, that's where you start hiking more on the sedimentary rock and making your way into the slot canyon. The Burro Wash Trail is about a 6-mile out and back type of trail with just under 500 feet elevation gain. That might sound like a moderate type of trail, however, this trail is marked as strenuous because you need to use your upper body strength. You also need to have a slimmer body type to be able to get through certain parts of the slot canyon on this hike. As you start to make your way into the canyon, you are hiking on flat, sandy terrain with sandstone walls on both sides of you. You'll come to some sections where you have to climb up a boulder to get into the next section of the slot canyon. The canyon continues to get more narrow as you make your way towards the end point of this hike. Once you make it to the end of the hike, there's a big open area where the slot canyon opens back up into more of an oval shape, and light can filter down into this cove type of thing, and it's really beautiful. You know you can't go any further, so once you get to that point, you just turn around, go back the way you came through that slot canyon, opens back up to the desert, and on your way back you have beautiful views of the surrounding mountains in Utah. A couple things to consider when doing a slot canyon hike. are the weather. You want to make sure that there aren't any storms coming through, as slot canyons can fill up with water and flash flooding conditions very quickly. You also want to make sure you have sturdy footwear, preferably with ankle support. That will help you getting through some of these sections where you have to climb on the rocks. You also need to consider your upper body strength when doing this hike. You use your arms and your shoulders to get into the next section of the hike in some areas here. If you've ever been to Zion National Park in Utah, you likely have heard of the Narrows. The Narrows hike up the Virgin River is my number 3 hike of unique hikes in U.S. national parks. There are a few different ways that you can do this hike, but in this video, I'm going to be talking about the day hike that does not require a permit. You start at the bottom along the river walk, which in itself is a beautiful, easy 2-mile out and back type of hike. Once you make it that 1 mile out though, there are steps that go down to the Virgin River where you can continue your hike up the river canyon. If you do the full hike to Big Springs and back, it is about 9 miles, which can become a full day hike depending on the flow of the river and how warm or cold it is outside. When we did this hike, it was late March / early April, so it was pretty cold. The river temperature was very cold as well. We wore water shoes and waders from a nearby rental shop, and we hiked a total of about 7 miles. We made it up to where there's a split in the river. We first continued up the Virgin River until we made it to Floating Rock. That's a pretty obvious feature you see there. It's a large rock in the middle of the river. From that point, we turned back around, did a little bit of exploring up that side stream. We then turned back around and made it back down the Virgin River until we got to the steps back up the riverside walk, and then made it back to the trailhead. Like the Burrow Wash Trail, you need to be mindful of incoming storms because the flow of that river could get much more intense. Flash flooding conditions are incredibly dangerous in the Narrows, so you do not want to do this hike when storms are happening in the area. The number 4 unique hike on my list is on the east coast of the US, located in Acadia National Park in Maine, the Precipice Trail. The Precipice Trail is not for you if you have a fear of heights. This trail features iron rungs and narrow ledges going up the cliffside. It's only a 2.5 mile round trip loop with 1,000 feet elevation gain. I would rank this hike as strenuous, again because you need upper body strength to be able to complete it. The trail starts out with a hike through the forest. You'll get a few boulders that you have to make your way up using iron rungs, so that upper body strength is needed pretty close to the start of this hike. Next, you come to this big rock pile that you have to scramble up to get to the next section of the hike. You're then closer to the cliffside. You'll make your way over a little bridge, sticking to the cliffside on a narrow ledge where you'll start to climb up the rock using those iron rungs and ladders. As you're doing this hike, you have beautiful views looking out at the ocean surrounding Acadia National Park. And once you get to the top, you want to continue the loop. You do not want to go back the way you came. That's going to cause congestion, and it's not safe for people that are making their way up the mountain. If you continue that loop, you'll then hike down a path that doesn't feature any iron rungs. You're just hiking down with a couple large steps down as you're making your way back down closer to sea level. This trail is not open year-round. There is a period of time where the trail closes if birds nest in this area, and I don't recommend doing this hike when there is ice and snow on the ground because that's going to be pretty slippery and dangerous. Take a look at the park's website before you go and try this hike just to make sure that it's open for you. And finally, number 5 on this list is the hike to Sky Pond in Rocky Mountain National Park, Colorado. In my opinion, this is the most strenuous hike of all of the ones on this list. and it's one of the most diverse hikes. Now, if you've done this hike before, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, this trail features a dirt path through a forest, which wasn't supposed to be on the unique hikes list. And that's true. The trail from Glacier Gorge to Sky Pond does feature sections of the trail that are on a dirt path through a forest. However, this trail features numerous cascading streams, boulder fields, ice fields if you do this hike in late spring, early summer, beautiful geologic features, and 2 waterfalls, including one that you get to scramble up the side of on your hike. The hike to Sky Pond begins at the Glacier Gorge trailhead, where you start out with an easy to moderate hike until you get to the first pretty cool viewpoint spot of Alberta Falls. From there, you'll continue through the forest, making your way uphill in general until you make it to the Loch, which is a beautiful lake with mountain views in the background. You continue making your way through the forest until you come to an opening on a slope that you need to hike across until you get to the base of Timberline Falls. Now, for Timberline Falls, in early June, there was still a lot of ice on the waterfall. You actually get to scramble up the side of the waterfall, which is beautiful. Once you get to the top of that, you keep going on the path alongside the Lake of Glass, which is named for the beautiful reflections of the mountain that can be seen on this lake when it's not a windy day. You then continue past the Lake of Glass, where the trail becomes a little less steep, and then you get up to Sky Pond, which has beautiful views of the pond water with steep rocky spires sticking out above you. Oh yeah, and something super unique about this hike, if you do it in late spring or early summer, there's a chance that this snow slide will be here on the way back down. Once you scramble back down Timberline Falls and make your way to that big open slope, this is where the snow slide was, and it was so much fun and saved me a bit of time from hiking back on that packed snow. Alright, travel friends, that wraps up my list of 5 unique hikes in our US national parks. Honorable mentions that were very close but didn't quite make my list are the Highline Trail in Glacier National Park, Montana. The unique part of this trail is the ledge walk, where you're on a narrow cliffside with a steep drop down to going to the Sun Road. This hike features beautiful views of Glacier National Park in Montana and is a great spot to view wildlife. Another amazing, unique hike is the hike to the top of Half Dome in Yosemite National Park, California. I did not include the Half Dome hike on this list because you need a permit to do the day hike to the top of Half Dome, and very few people get the opportunity to do this hike, so I didn't want to put this on the list because it's not something that everyone can do. And finally, an honorable mention for the Navajo Loop hike in Bryce Canyon National Park, Utah. This hike just features some really beautiful, interesting views of the hoodoos, or those spires of rock, in Bryce Canyon National Park in Utah. Let me know what you think the most unique hike is that you've ever done in the comments under this video. I'm looking forward to hearing your responses. Please hit that subscribe button if you like travel and nature related content. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a wonderful day and happy travels!